And welcome to Netflix and Kill. Another animation one. Travis, I'm so excited.
Of course you are.
We're not quite done with the... we had Troll Hunters last week, but Netflix had some more animated shit to give us. So, of course, we had to bring back on the AA Battery Gamers. This time via Skype. Say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
That's...
Hi, Skype.
So, yep, that's Ash and Ari again, and we are talking about... What are we talking about today, guys?
Voltron.
The Voltron.
Voltron.
I
I call him Kittytron.
Yeah, Ash has been calling him Kittytron, which sounds very adorable. I don't think would intimidate any Galra very much, but...
No.
Plus, I think cats are scary.
Well, we were talking about...
Or they may think that the cats are insanely adorable.
Well, we're talking about Voltron Season 5 in particular this week. It's the latest one that just dropped.
As of today, our rebel forces have taken control of 1/3 of the former Galra Empire.
Everyone, get to your lions! We're going in! Hold on!
The tide is changing, but we still have a long way to go before the entire universe is free.
All forces, prepare for enemy assault.
Stay in formation, and don't touch the sides!
Honk!
Think I may have nicked the side a little bit.
Maybe time to consider taking the next step.
Our forces combined. You provide the greatest threat Zarkon has ever faced.
Every word is a lie!
This whole thing's like making a deal with the devil. It's the Galra.
They're making a one-time offer.
Don't play into Zarkon's hands!
Behold the dawn of a new age of warfare.
6 episodes.
Yeah, they've shortened the Voltron season significantly. I mean, I like it too because it's, I think we were talking to our friend, Les Weiler at some point, or no, I was listening to his on one of the other podcasts he's on, and he was like, wait, Voltron they just dropped more episodes of Voltron? That can't be true. I just watched Voltron.
Like last week.
So so apparently they are shortening up the season so they can drop on a more regular basis.
Like, isn't the next one going to be like July now?
Sometime in June.
Oh, was it June? Okay. That's even earlier.
Yep.
And it's interesting, it doesn't seem to matter structurally overall with the Voltron seasons, since the Voltron seasons don't seem to follow any kind of seasonal... I mean, they kind of follow a seasonal arc, like this one definitely has its own plot or whatever, but they begin and end. It's not like, the beginning...
Seemingly at random.
Yeah, there's not really a beginning, like, they don't really recap, like, what's been going on anymore. You're either in it or you're not. It's very late season TV for sure. But, yeah, this one, we're going to actually do a little something different because this season has such a big spoiler in episode 2 that... that most of this is going to be an actual spoiler section. So
we can't talk past episode 1, is what you're saying.
No, what I want to do, and let's see if this sounds like doable. What we're going to talk about is just our general feelings and structure of the show, and then we'll give our ratings up front.
Okay.
Like we'll just then we'll go into the spoilers for anyone who wants to go into more specifics. Because there is some big stuff that happens in this season that is just like, if you haven't watched it yet, I feel very bad if I were to spoil it for you.
I wouldn't even believe us.
So instead we'll just start with, our general overall feelings and, and give our own personal ratings. I can start if that's helpful to anyone.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Wow, this season was really cool. I really like a lot of the story directions they take. They take some very bold chances that I don't think if this wasn't a Netflix show, I don't think they would take. Like, say if this was on Saturday morning, or if it was on Cartoon Network in the late afternoon, I don't think they would go this way with some of the stuff that they did.
Yeah.
Especially not when they did it. Lotor this season is my new MVP of the entire show. He's very interesting.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He only becomes more interesting as time goes on. I really like this guy. The show upped a great tick in quality when he joined the squad. So I'm really excited to see what is in store for him and his character, and even his crew, his previous crew. Considering last season he comes in at the very end to,
Betray all Galra.
win them a big significant battle and kind of switch sides a little bit. So this season's all about their tepid alliance, and and it's a real interesting dynamic for sure. Even him and Princess Allura seem to be kind of like giving each other the eyes a little bit. So I'm like, oh, is there something going on there? What's happening here, guys?
Lance is gonna hate that.
I can see the fanfiction being written already. Negatives. Guys, if we're not going to try during the space battles, we could just have less space battles. The fucking still cards, the still images are not really doing it for me anymore. I mean, I get that you're anime influenced and stuff, so like that's what they're trying to emulate with the floating backgrounds and saves on the animation budget and that sort of thing. But man, especially when I see the hand-to-hand fights are still unbelievably cool looking, and that's what these guys, the team, of course, is behind the Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So that's obviously where their strength is. I'm like, well, just have more of those at this point, or somehow incorporate that into your robot fights, because the most boring part of this show is when they actually get in the lions and fight shit with the lions most of the time. Sometimes the lions can be really cool. Like there's this point in the first episode where they're breaking somebody out of prison, and they got Pidge biting ships and fling him in other ships.
It really gave you a scale of how big these lion cat
and he has to
ships
pull
actually are.
And he has to pull this cool maneuver where he flips over and catches them in the belly, like the pet me maneuver is what I called it. And I'm like, oh, that was cool, but it kind of like we never get anything that distinctive or cool again in the lion fights. And when Voltron shows up, it's pretty much just a sword slash and it's done. And so it's just, I don't know, like it's just not like, and I get that, they're very powerful lions and stuff, but we never really get to see anything very visually cool with them anymore. And am I remembering this wrong? They did have more like distinctive big fights with Voltron in the previous seasons, right?
They did. Yeah, they did actually.
Like there was like maybe one Robeast this season?
Yeah.
Like one?
And it was like mostly it was kind of a filler part anyway.
Yeah. And so I think that's also a weakness of having 6 episodes, is that when you focus so distinctively on one storyline, that there's not enough time for some of the other stuff that happens. Also, Lance and Hunk get pretty much no character plot to themselves again, to the point where everybody else got so much time devoted to them that I don't think that Lance and Hunk are ever going to get their due anymore. I think they're just going to be background characters. But what I did get from them was fine. Let's see. Yeah, it was pretty much everything encapsulated overall, I felt, of the season. So that's the reason I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think this might be actually my favorite season of Voltron. But it still has problems that it seems to not be able to quite get away from. And
it still has its flaws.
Yeah. I mean, and by that I mean, like, I don't think it's ever going to get quite as good as Last Airbender or Korra got. But it's still very fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the next season. Also, Keith is basically non-existent in this season. He has maybe like one episode where he features heavily, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So
he's busy with the Blade of Mamora.
Yeah, I was gonna say Keith is more tolerable, but I remembered he was barely in it.
Yep.
But what do you girls think overall of this season?
You want to go ahead?
Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah. Okay, so for this season, I really enjoyed it immensely. And I really didn't give a second thought to the fact that the fighting scenes were a bunch of stills until later on. And then I realized that, okay, yeah, this is really not doing it, but I can understand it being an animation budget kind of issue. Mm-hmm. And like when I first laid eyes on this new revive of Voltron, I almost said Moltron. Shut up.
Ew.
And you know, like when season 1 came around, and I right away my mind went over, oh, it looks a lot like Legend of Korra. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that one of the creators is behind this one. So, I mean, but with season 5 here, I see Lotor. I mean, I think he's pretty fucking badass. But I can't help but feel like, kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of mindset where there is still that ulterior motive that we have yet to see.
You think he's playing him like Littlefinger?
Yes. That is what I am thinking about. Like he's being a Lord Baelish here. Mm-hmm. And trying to get on the good side and play that little game of guessing what's the worst thing another person could do.
Sure.
So I still feel like that there's still something there. I don't fully trust him just yet, even though he is crazy badass and he, you know, had this enormous fight and did crazy awesome in that. But you know, all of a sudden he turns it around, like from one season to another, from wanting to get an unlimited tap on quintessence for the Galra Empire and to glorify his father, to suddenly flipping over and being on Allura and the Paladin side. That just seemed a little.
Well, sure, but like
suspicious.
his pitch that he sells them is just a more sugar-coated version of what he wanted to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. Like his idea of ruling is like, no, we should rule in a way where people need us and actually kind of like us, because that way when people need you, then it's much more harder for them to revolt against you. And all we're doing is making it that much easier when we set up a regime via fear and resistance. So for me, I kind of buy his turnaround more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I do too, but I still have that lingering thought in the back of my head, and I'm just waiting to see something else. But other than that, is it just me, or is anyone else getting really tired of the Voltron put together form Voltron sequence? That is just the same thing over and over and over again.
Not at all. But I grew up watching Power Rangers, so that was basically that was basically the rule of the day of like with Voltron, is that we're gonna need a sequence, and this one is like they just at least do it they at least care consistent on when they do it.
Right, unlike the third season where like they shortened it the first episode and it was full length all the other episodes.
That made no sense to me, since it was dumb. It was like the first time we're back in Voltron and we're not going to do the sequence. That was super weird.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't grow up with the Power Rangers. Like, I knew of them, but I was fans of other things at the time too. So. I mean, I didn't even get into Transformers real heavily until like I was a freshman in high school. So.
Yeah. That's just, it comes with, anime and stuff to the transformation sequence. It's the Sailor Moon. It's it's basically like almost tradition at that point, and they're probably paying homage to the first Voltron as well.
That make sure they can waste a little bit of that time.
Well, yeah, it's also an animation still that they don't have to they can just reuse and don't have to reanimate.
Yep.
Yeah. So, And you guys know I rate that 1 through 10 point system, and I think overall I can give this season an 8.9 out of 10.
All right. As a high praise from
Yes.
Ash. Ari, what do you think?
I enjoyed it immensely.
How about you, Ari?
Oh boy.
And the pressure's on.
She's going to be the negative side of the battery now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think I'm just kind of losing interest in Voltron, and it's not like the season was bad. It just felt kind of meh for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Any particular reason why?
I don't know. I just feel like lately they're just kind of dragging stuff along in these like little mini seasons.
Oh, is the pacing getting to you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's especially, I can see that especially being that it took this long for Pidge and Matt to find their dad.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I feel like in this season, they're just kind of like finishing up most of the like storylines for the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at it in actual episodes and actual length, it's actually not super long with each other. But since they split it up into 6 episodes apiece, I forget when they started to do that actually, but it has been longer in between stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think I can get you there. Would you give it a number rating overall?
I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5? Pretty average for you?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Travis, what do you think overall, buddy?
I did like this season. I think I actually had more fun predicting things that didn't come true in the season than actually what would happen in it.
Yeah, go watch our video reactions.
Yeah, I made a lot of predictions that I'm like, that would actually been more fun, I think.
I actually did watch your video reactions.
Yeah.
I think I agree that this season's pacing is a little wonky. Like, episode 2 happens, I'm like, the fuck is this?
Yeah,
this is like at least mid-season finale, if not finale. I'm like, did we just have a giant fight like a season, but then timeline-wise 2 episodes ago? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're just watching this all back to back, you'd be like, wow, they're really going for it, aren't they?
Yeah, it feels like if you had squeezed the past 2 seasons together, they would form a very full season with the ending of with Lotor betraying his side, and then this season probably would pair with whatever the next season is gonna be, because it kind of just cuts off at the end too.
And I thought overall this one, like, besides the odd pacing of it, it was going pretty well until like the final episode where I'm just like, oh, not much happened here. Like, like it was supposed to be a character-based episode, but still nothing really got resolved or really explained for the characters themselves. So I'm like, okay.
There's a couple big reveals. There's not a really big conflict to get over in the last episode at all. No one's arc comes to season long arc comes to a complete end, other than pretty much Lotor. It's almost like Lotor is the main character of this season. Yeah, because he's the only one who's by the end you're like, oh, I guess he's pretty much a good guy now.
No, I still do not believe that 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I'm still like, yeah, you could be good, and I'd actually probably find that more shocking than you actually betraying us. Yeah. Like, it's not gonna be like an inevitable and sudden betrayal anymore. It's gonna just be like, oh, so you are gonna betray us. Got it. Good. Thank you for establishing that.
Yes.
Overall, I'm kind of disappointed, like you said, that Lance and Hunk haven't gotten their own little story arcs.
I don't think they're gonna.
And that's kind of sad, because everyone else got something. But I think there are still a lot more potential that they could do with the stories. They have seeds of things that could happen that I'm interested to see if they'll do it, but this season, kind of wish they had done something with them.
Oh, no, never mind. They will do something with Lance, because Lance got the sword this season.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, they'll throw him a bone next season, I think, with, because that sword is supposed to be kind of like a Destiny sent down thing, right?
Maybe.
And it's an Excalibur.
It was supposed to be like, I haven't seen that sword in 1,000 years, or like the sword chooses you, or some bullshit.
Yeah. But that's like everything about Voltron is that.
Then they were setting up some stuff with him and Shiro this season, where I'm like, okay, that will probably pay off next season with Lance and then all that.
Mm-hmm. So overall, yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Still pretty enjoyable.
My man Shiro.
A sexy anime star himself. All right, so guys, that was our no.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add one last thing. Like when we're talking about characters getting their own stories, like I would like to see something happen with Hunk and that head guy of Rapid South from the Space Mall.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I forgot about that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That would be amazing. Like, suddenly something comes up and Hunk is like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, maybe he could be part of the Resistance as well.
Yeah.
That would be pretty great.
Cookie inspired him to join the Resistance.
Yes.
So, anyone else want to mention anything last minute before we go into our spoiler section?
I'm set.
Nope.
Yep.
All right, so I know this is awkward, guys, but we really can't go into great detail of all the cool shit that happened this season without spoiling a couple major things. So
I kind of spilled it already.
So if you guys would like to check out, Voltron before you go into the spoiler section, here is your chance now, okay? I warned you, all right? So we're going to go into a musical break and come back. But before that, I would like the AA Battery Gamers to tell you where they can find you on the internet, where they can find him on the internet. Ash, where can people find you?
Well, we have our YouTube channel at AA Battery Gamers, and at in the description of all of our videos, well, almost all of them, we post all of our social media links there. So that is the fastest way I could think of to reach us at every platform that we're on.
Gotcha. All right. And of course, if you want to check out some of our previous reviews for our previous Voltron seasons, I don't think we had them as Netflix and Kills, but I think they were previous episodes of ours that we went into on them. So just look for that under the UGO moniker on iTunes. And yeah, we are going to go into the spoiler section right after this.
I see what's happening here. You're face to face with greatness and it's strange. You don't even know how you feel. It's adorable. Well, it's nice to see that paladins never change. Open your eyes, let's begin. Yes, it's really me, it's Shiro. Breathe it in. I know it's a lot, the hair, the bod. When you're staring at a palagod.
All right, welcome to the spoiler section for Voltron Season 5. Holy crap. I don't even know where to start, guys. Oh, no, wait, I do.
We'll start at episode 1, I guess.
Well,
We can finally spill it.
The prisoner exchange we gotta do, because the first episode we tried to break out Pidge and, Mark, is his name? Pidge and Mark?
Oh, Matt.
Pidge and Matt.
That's what his name was. Pidge and Matt, we gotta try and break out their dad, who I completely forgot about between the seasons. I completely forgot that was a guy that was in play. I was like, oh shit, that's right. And yeah, so we have to, grab him up, and it turns out that he was already captured by Lotor's previous forces. And I kind of liked that Lotor was really calm and collected about the prisoner exchange too, because he was like, "Hey, all the information I gave you previously was all like easy peasy, low risk runs."
Right. It was go and get out with the stuff, and you're good.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little more dicey, so I want to let you guys know that, like, straight up, like, it's not going to be super easy. So I like that he knows that he's in a precarious position, so he has to be as forthright as possible. And he gives them the little spiel, and it's kind of like, I'm not sure how much he believes it, but I think by the end of it, he believes it more than initially when he gave the speech.
Possibly.
I don't know. I think spending time with Voltron really got him going with the whole, like, he really wants things to go back to the Galactic Federation that we saw in the flashback. I think he was like, no, that's when life was good, is when we were all working the Power Rangers thing together, when we were intergalactic Power Rangers.
When we were all getting along.
And I like that when he's like, hey, Zarkon is not gonna do a straight up exchange for me for your dad, because that's the deal that Zarkon gives them. And
you can't expect that out of the ultimate villain of the series either.
Yeah. And I like Pitch is like, you can't trust him. He's just trying to save his own skin. And I like that Lotor basically goes like, yeah, lots on the line here for me.
I am rather fond of it. It is a very nice skin.
And plus, where do you think I learned how to lie? Like,
exactly.
Do you find me more or less trustworthy than Zarkon, who is literally never...
giving you zero reason to trust.
It's given you zero. I've given you how many reasons for you to trust me about all these missions that I sent you on, and it doesn't earn me more cred than him.
Yeah.
So,
although I can understand Pidge being so in a big hurry and so anxious to get her dad back.
Sure.
I mean, I can totally understand that, with just wanting to dive right in and think later.
At a certain point, though, I was agreeing with Shiro where I was like, Pidge, you are losing perspective here, and you're just not you're not playing this the smartest way you could.
And Pidge is usually the smarter of the characters, too.
Yeah, and she's never been this close to her dad, so I'll give her that.
Right. I mean, if it were me, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
And the exchange does not go down as planned. They use a hologram to trick them into giving up Lotor.
It's a trap.
Yep.
It's a trap. And Zarkon is like, fork over Voltron and we'll give you your dad. And I'm like, that's a shit deal. No one would make that deal. Like that involves Shiro and all of them forking over Voltron for one person. That's, sorry, dude, in the grand scheme of things, you're not that important. No. I don't mean to be cold or anything, but
it's not even a matter of practicality. It's like one person versus the rest of the universe.
Yes.
That scale is never going to balance.
And I can't believe that Zarkon thought that this would fly, that he was going to get away with this. If I were Zarkon, I said this during our reaction, I would have done the deal straight. I would have taken Lotor off the board, because who's the most dangerous person to me other than Voltron? Like, if I could take a person out that isn't Voltron, I would take out Lotor. He's constantly undermining me. He's got vast, superior knowledge of the Galra Empire. He's smart. He's tenacious. He has a claim to the throne.
He's charismatic, which
is charismatic. He is a threat in every way a ruler could have a threat. And it's not enough for him to take him off the board. And
the fact that he is so much smoother about recruiting for the Galra cause instead of just forcing everybody. The way his dad has been doing it.
So Zarkon, for me, it's just like that's a big tactical mistake you just made. Like you had a big win and you decided to put it on all on risk just so you could have Voltron, because the dude's obsessed. The dude's obsessed with Voltron.
Single-minded.
But it doesn't really work out for him, because Shiro turns out to have given Lotor the black, what's it called?
Bayard.
The Bayard, yeah, from the Paladins. And which is interesting because in the first part of the episode, Shiro seems very suspicious of Lotor as well. He's with the rest of the crew. But at some point, he kind of flips and goes like, well, enemy and my enemy of all that.
Right.
And he trusts Lotor enough to give him the weapon, and and then throughout the rest of the season, he starts to trust him more and more, it seems like, to where he's very much on Team Lotor. And
even to the point of threatening other people over it.
Me and Travis did call it early. Did we call it episode 1 or was it episode 2?
Well, probably episode 2 if I had to take a guess.
To where we are very sure.
Roll the film.
We are very sure that Shiro is being manipulated by the witch in some level. Maybe not even a level he's conscious of.
I figure he was brainwashed or something. Since the episode where they show him escaping and stuff.
Right. And I feel like, that episode where he escaped, I'm like, you know what? That does start to feel more and more like a setup to me. Especially when the more pro Lotor he gets.
And especially the way we saw how he totally snapped at Lance there.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, we get a fucking awesome fight with Zarkon and Lotor. Like, this fight is badass. Like it's
that
like
was definitely something out of Legend of Korra.
Yes, it was like it was like a DBZ fight where it was just them going at each other, and I loved that shit. And even some of the space fight, like when they were following one downed Galra fighter where it crashed into the planet, and then it transitioned back into the hand-to-hand fight between Zarkon and Lotor, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, yeah, use more of that in your space fighting. And Pidge and Matt are fighting and Shiro are fighting Lotor's previous crew in the spaceship, and then they go into a nosedive and do the zero gravity thing. There's just a lot going on in these fights.
It's a very season finale episode.
Oh, it's my favorite episode of season 5.
Well, it's the best one.
For me, it's hands down, no contest, the best episode of season 5. Maybe if not in the running for best episode of the show.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, we got emotional drama between, they're trying to save a hostage. We got the drama between a father and son. There's all the colorful characters are basically all together at the same time. We even have the witch getting basically almost all of her memory back that she's been struggling with in that episode. And then at the end of that episode, Zarkon bites it. Like, Lotor finally gets in that kill shot. To save Voltron at the very end.
Yep.
And yeah, it's over. Like I was like, holy shit.
Like, again, they could easily bring him back through some damn
Indeed. But then I realized that, we really didn't need Zarkon anymore. Lotor was a more interesting villain when he was a villain, when he replaced him for a while. And now the witch is a much more conniving, evil type, like more interesting villain too. Zarkon's one-track mind of I need Voltron was getting pretty boring. And so I'm glad that they had the good sense to take him out actually. Which is interesting in the next episode. So I think that episode was like episode 2 Bloodlines, and then the next episode was
it's postmortem. It's
postmortem.
Like just called postmortem.
Yeah, and they are basically discussing like, hey, what should we do? Do we put Lotor on the throne?
Yeah, because there's this big like meeting basically the Galra have called Kralzera that they fight over who gets to be the next person on the throne.
Right. And
they all play King of the Mountain.
Basically, yeah.
And they all, and it's either that and then the Blade of Morale, like, well, we could just blow that shit up.
I still like that idea.
Right. And, Lotor makes his pitch, and Allura is kind of like, well, it would be easier if we could get some of the Empire, if not a good significant chunk of the Empire, down with just being, the good Galra, basically, because otherwise it would be a long fight to just beat the Galra into submission.
Yeah,
like there's not a whole lot they could do other than to beat them to a point where they'd have to submit to the resistance forces, and that's a lot of death, a lot of people getting killed.
This is already what, a 10,000-year war?
Yeah, so it's easy. It's like, it's hard to see. And I'm like, you know what? I really do get both sides, but I guess I do come around on Allura's side more than anything else. Of just like, we might as well give this Lotor guy a shot. Like he's proven that he's at least got a different way about him to where we could at least treaty with him and figure out some stuff. Like we couldn't even talk to Zarkon. That's
true.
Or most of the other Galra. We could never even come to terms or come to a deal that anyone would trust. So they decide against it though, and Shiro, going against everybody, transports Lotor there. to fight the witches. The witches champion whose name is escaping me. But he's from one of the previous seasons.
Yeah.
He got fucked up, and now he has a now he has Zandath. Yeah, now he's got a fucking cool cyborg arm that has like a
cool cyborg arm, actually.
Like that's got like a what would you call it? Like some sort of energy orb that kind of connects his arm.
He can use the arm like as a rocket punch.
Yeah.
And then the energy keeping the arm attached then can act as a gun.
Yeah.
I would think that is some sort of electromagnetic field or, some sort of power that's magnetic. Mm-hmm.
Well, it leads to one of my other favorite kills in this season where he grabs up that sneaky guy and is like, oh, maybe we could work together, man. And he's like, nah, I'm just gonna take your fleet, and he drops his ass off a cliff. Oh no! But yeah, Lotor manages to grab up and light the throne of fire, basically, and takes charge of half the Gulra Empire,
something like that.
So we never get an idea of how big his chunk of the empire is, but it must be somewhat significant. So yeah, another shocking thing that they did in episode 4 basically is just oh shit, we're no longer fighting a giant empire anymore. Mm-hmm. We're fighting, we're working with that empire to stamp out the rebellious forces of the empire,
right?
To create a new alliance. It's like if the empire stopped fighting and we're like, we're sick of being stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And it was like if a nice guy took over for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's just kind of odd, to throw that in mid season. But I really came to like it more and more because it had a chance to show how Lotor would rule, and he got to put his money where his mouth was.
Yep.
And go oh well, there are some warring factions still, but I can rein them in. It's well, how are you gonna? What was it? It was Shiro talking to him or Allura? One of them was saying that. How are you going to bring into the fold a bunch of generals and stuff that have only known their entire lives fighting and so death before submission? And he's economically, I'm going to find an unlimited source of quintessence. And then when there's no longer that to mine and fight over for the rest of the galaxy, there'll be no reason for us to act like fucking warmongers. And it's that's actually a solid, actionable plan. And he's got research and ideas of how to pull it off. The guy has got his shit together.
Yeah.
Which makes him actually more dangerous.
If he were to be a villain by the end of it, he would be a very hard villain to defeat, I would think.
Yep.
But he's already been a villain. We've already had our time with him as a villain, where he was fighting Voltron. So I don't know if they'll go back to that or not, but I kind of hope they don't, because I find this dynamic a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. I share that same hope as well.
But yeah, then we get Bloodlines with the search for basically Atlantis. And so that's
Space Atlantis.
Episode 5. Lance, Hunk, and Pidge reprogram a robot to be for fun.
That is so fucked up.
That's pretty funny, but then at the end of it, they strap his ass to a rocket, and it's are you sure this is what you want? I want to see the stars. They are so beautiful.
And away you go.
They shoot him off with the Amazing Grace on bagpipes, and I'm like, what is happening?
I know.
Weird.
That was a weird note to end it on.
Did he want to commit suicide or something?
Well, they did. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I'm like, are they... This is supposed to be funny? This is weird and dark.
Robots can't really commit suicide that way because they won't die in space.
I guess.
But he will get hit by, a star and destroyed.
Unless something like that happens, or he crashes into a moon or something.
Well, I mean, he's not. He can't get out. He's strapped to the thing. So, He's just gonna be floating through space forever until he dies through destruction.
I just found it very disturbing.
Me to the moon and let me play among the stars.
So yeah, that brings us to the finale.
Well,
which,
let's not forget we also meet female Shiro or female Keith.
yeah, but that's also in the finale, right? Or is that the episode before?
Episode before.
Yeah, episode before.
yeah.
We just don't deal with it in the finale at all.
Yes.
So yeah, we get to see, and you'll be able to see in the video reaction. But immediately I was like, that bitch looks like Keith.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turns out that Keith mommy.
That is Keith mommy.
It's her mama.
That's your mom.
And if you're wondering how that works or the ramifications of that, well, we are too.
Yeah.
Because that shit is basically dropped and not even talked. They don't even go to Keith in the last episode, which I found was like, that is so weird to just drop it like that.
Yeah.
But this last episode is weird in that it just doesn't feel like a finale, like up, but at all. We've already talked about it.
It's not even a mid-season finale.
It just feels like another episode, and it finally just kind of like it just ended on it. It's just odd the way that they've split up these seasons now to where I just don't know where definitively. Like, I wonder if we watch if I were to do a rewatch and just watched them all in order now, and I didn't worry about the season ends and stuff, would it make more sense to me?
Yeah, but as a show that has seasons, that is kind of something they have to take into account.
Yeah. So I'm not nuts about that.
Netflix does allow them to be a little bit more flexible, but they still have to realize that they are issuing out content during regular intervals that we have to, as an audience, understand the flow of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, the last episode, White Lion, which me and Travis were very excited because we thought like, holy shit, we're gonna get a sixth Ranger.
Yeah, it's like we were gonna get the Betrayal or a Sixth Ranger. I'm like, either way, I'm in.
No, the White Lion is just a Mufasa parody up in space.
Basically, Space Mufasa. He's a bit of a dick.
And it's racist as shit.
It kind of reminded me more of like a space Cave of Wonders.
That's
in the rough.
If the Cave of Wonders was super racist and only let in what do you call him?
Oh yes, because nothing in Aladdin's racist.
Well,
Right.
the cave lion wasn't. I'm pretty sure the cave lion was one of those things that wasn't racist in it. But racist cats aside, Gora or the being half Gora doesn't disqualify Lotor from entering into the Magic City, apparently. But what does disqualify him is the final test or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which, like, I guess he should have saw coming, but like whenever me and Travis talked about it when we watched the episode, but I'm like, no, whenever they show him fighting, he gets real into the fight and his blood gets a little bit lit, and where he can't quite he can't quite repress that Gulra side of him anymore, and he gets a little hot under the collar and he can't quite control it. And that happened to him at the very end there too, and he failed the test because he tried to meet violence with violence, and Allura was like, no, I must, if I'm going to seek knowledge truly, I must take it all the way to the end, and like, gives herself over and offers up, like, it's my life for knowledge, basically.
Yeah, she has to show that element, she shows that element of, selflessness.
And then, so she gets knowledge of the knowledge of the universe, and gets to know, like, oh, this is the shit how Voltron was made, and quintessence. And if you're wondering what the secret behind that is, we are also wondering that.
Yes.
Because another thing that they basically don't, deal with at all, because it's like, oh, we'll deal with it in the next episode. I'm like, guys, there's not a next episode.
And the only thing that actually comes to this one is like, oh, well, because of the space line, they lost power to the castle, so we needed her to discover it quick so she could use magic to restore the castle. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Not like world-ending stakes or anything.
No,
like,
just the paladins dying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that would be a big deal in anything, except for that, we've had other seasons end with giant fucking battles with and resistance fighters going down. Like this, it's a much smaller episode,
Yeah.
which normally, I mean, I would be okay with it if they dealt with like anything. Like they they don't deal with the witch or that. We don't deal with Shiro's obvious manipulation, like that's being safe in the next season. We don't deal with Keith and his mom. It's just there's not
All
a
we
lot.
do is we have Lance constantly going like, what if they're out there? They're dead. What? Oh no, I wasn't talking to you. Lance, no one's talking to you. Go away.
There's just not a lot of conclusion in this conclusion.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's literally not a final episode. It's just a episode where they decide to end it on.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, other than that though, I thought like this season was very fun, especially in the first 4 episodes. I thought like, man, this is some real good stuff that we're doing here. Is there anything else we forgot to mention in the spoiler section? Anything other big moments we wanted to hit?
Not that I can think of.
No, I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well-
other than Atlantis and Space Mufasa.
Like I said, it does leave a lot of potential open, but mostly because they just don't do shit in this season.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually very interested in where the witch's loyalties lie.
Yeah.
I know.
Because the more Shiro is pro Lotor, I'm like, okay, I think she's manipulating him so that Lotor can be a more effective leader, or maybe she's trying to betray Lotor herself.
No, what I think is that she's gonna set up Lotor to be like, yes, I can actually trust these people that be my friends. We can actually make this work. And then she's gonna have Shiro betray him. And then she'll swoop down and be like, no, you're much better ruling through, like, your father. And basically place him at the head as her puppet.
Wow, dark end for Lotor there.
Yeah. Because later in the season, I also start wondering, how is it that the witch is being able to monitor Lotor while he's with the paladins there?
The same way she could monitor Lotor by when she was using the cat guy or cat lady.
Yeah.
Exactly. So who is being her camera, I guess?
Shiro.
It's 100% Shiro, although like that's the big tip off for me, saying that he's the one being manipulated. There's the whole point where they're all in the dreamscape and he says something to Lance.
Yeah.
And Lance can't quite hear it. Like that's Shiro's subconscious trying to warn Lance, and he doesn't quite get the message across.
Yeah.
All roads point to Shiro being manipulated. It's just hard to tell what the witch's end goal is, because she didn't support Lotor in the Carl Zara.
Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr. We all head up to the Carl's Jr. and decide who's the leader, who can eat the most burgers.
That's about what they did anyway.
But she instead puts forth another, fighter. And we were thinking like, well, maybe she puts forth a fighter that can beat everyone else, and then that way, like, if Lotor fights him, she can just like manipulate him into losing so that it's Lotor on the throne. But like that didn't really happen either. So it's really interesting to see like where's this going? What's your main plan here, witch lady? Because you remember that he's your son, and you seem to care about it at some points. I did like when they tried to assassinate her. Like that shit was pretty cool. I did like where she uses the assassin against some other Galra commander.
Yeah.
Because, she's not going to be that dumb.
Man, a lot of death this season now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people getting
easily
killed.
fits into Netflix and kill.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's more appropriate than you might first think.
And it's not just the robots this time.
Oh no, we got some casualties this time around.
In fact, the fact that they humanize a robot and then shoot off into space makes it even more fitting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is so exciting. It's making me yawn. But yeah, I think that we pretty much covered everything, guys. So without further ado, I think we can wrap it up here. Again, if you'd like to check out some of our previous Voltron reviews, We have some of those up on our main channel. Or if you'd like to check out our episode-by-episode reaction and reviews, you can do that on our YouTube page at UGO Podcast as well. And look for our previous Netflix and kills on some other TV shows, like our Troll Hunters Season 1 and Season 2 reviews, also featuring the AA Battery Gamers.
All right.
They were also, really helpful with that one. So, yeah, a lot of animation fun to be had. Definitely check out the AA Battery Gamers' own channel on YouTube as well to check out some of their cool content going on there.
Yeah, come see us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go
Come
see us, do stuff.
Join us.
Just overall, thanks for listening, and we are on Unapologist Geek Out, and we're out.
Hey, what has two thumbs and fell from the sky? When Pidge was a garrison spy, this guy. When Keith got too bold, who saved him from Zarkon's final blow? You're looking at him, yo. Oh, 4 pitches, bro. I took the fall. You're welcome. I'm like a latte double tall. Said you who in some reality. You're welcome. You wanna pick the first one's free. So what can I say except you're welcome for the Gora I brought to their knees. There's no need to pray, it's okay. You're welcome. Ha! I guess it's just my way of being me. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, come to think of it, kids, honestly, I can go on and on. List everybody who calls me the champion. That planet where we were stuck to the ground. That was Shiro just messing around. I killed my Zax because I was tough. Got this new hand and now I'm super buff. What's the lesson? What is the takeaway? Don't mess with Shiro when he's on the breakaway. And the massive scar here on my skin is a map of the victories I win. Look where I've been. I make everything happen. Look at all slippery Scarandies just slippity tap and tap and hop.